Hi everyone, my name is Diana Moraro and I'm the co-CEO of a World company. I hope your week went well and the weekend also. So today we're going to discuss about CV applications and selection processes, and we have been invited Lisa Brennan. So Lisa is the is the managing director of strategic ambitions. So welcome Lisa back to Career Backstage podcast.
Hi, thank you for having me again. I enjoyed the conversation we had last time and hoping to give advice and support as many of your listeners as possible this time round too.
Yeah, thank you so much, Lisa, once again that you accepted our invitation. It's a really great pleasure to have you back, and tell us a little bit more about yourself. So I know that last time you done an introduction, but we're going to be really great people who actually listening us to know a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, so I have been working in this field of supporting graduates for probably about 15 years now. And I have to say that since I graduated university, that was the key thing I wanted to do. I wanted to support talent management activities, in particular people at early stages of their careers. So I feel very fortunate that I've had opportunities that have led to me coming here, but they've also led to me being able to move location, albeit from Scotland to England, still having that move, and just experiencing new areas and getting to know new people. And I think that really also, as an experience, helps people cope with change and things. So I know that many of your listeners have also moved location and yourself also. So I think it's a wonderful experience to draw upon when you're going through any selection process at this stage in your career.
Yeah, from where's coming this passion actually for supporting graduates? Because I also have that kind of passion supporting students, because I feel like the future is in hands of students. So that's why, and I feel like they need a lot of guidance and support. So from where that passion is coming, specifically to support students.
I think it comes back probably from my first career. I actually worked with McDonald's restaurants for 10 years from when I left school and went through their management training program. And as a store manager, I was always responsible for training other managers for my store and for other stores. And it gave me a real good experience of understanding that young people have got so much to offer and so much ambition and so much talent that can sometimes be overlooked just because of their age. And so that led me to want to do more of that with other companies and be able to help them to understand that, when graduates come into a business, it's not just the qualification they bring.
Mm-hmm.
They do have other skill sets and other experiences that businesses need, and should value much, much more. And so it became a real passion of mine to help the graduates to showcase themselves, but also to help the companies understand exactly just how much these young people could offer to their business and how much of a difference they can actually make.
Exactly. And because today we're going to tackle the CV application and selection processes, I know that employers, and especially now in this pandemic situation, they receive a lot of CV applications. What the employers are looking for in the CV application, if you can share with us an example.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's quite a few things that your CV needs to convey anyway. So one of them is your evidence of your skills and experience. Also, to convey a bit about your own personality. And I know that can sound a bit difficult to do in your CV, but that's one of the key things you should try to do straight away. And I'll tell you how to start doing that in a moment. I think another thing is to highlight how closely you match the job, and the criteria around the requirements for that job, to also be able to demonstrate where you can add value right from the start of your CV.
Exactly.
But to make you memorable. So when someone in a company is reading your CV, they want to see you, because if you're reading batches of 100 CVs at a time, it can become quite generic. You see a lot of CVs as just like bullet points, lists of this is what I did at university, list of this is what I did in this job. And actually, it needs to be more creative than that. You want to whet the reader's appetite and make them want to know more by inviting you to the next stage. So a few things to do with your CV is, in this statement that you make at the top, is to really connect with the reader on why do you want this job? Why are you passionate? Why are you applying? And when you start to tell them about why you're passionate about applying for this job and what it means to you, that helps your personality to come through just in the first few sentences. And so they start to see more of a person rather than just another candidate. And especially where we have a lot of companies now who are anonymizing CVs when they go to businesses, like out into business managers to review. So it becomes even more important that you can create a personality just from the statements that you're making on the CV, because you don't have anything there giving you, I suppose, any kind of identity other than that. So yeah, I think connecting with why and making sure that the reader starts to see your personality right from the word go is very, very important.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, because I help so many people to write CVs, and unfortunately, most of them, they just focus on on skills and also on responsibilities or experience so far that I had, but they don't really focus too much or at all on personality. And personality, it's playing a really important role in getting a job. But I think it's now kind of more raising awareness, for people, that they need to kind of embed their personality. And I think people don't really know their personality. In order, to put your personality in your CV and also your values, you need to know who you are and how much value you can offer to the organization. But it's really important, and thank you so much that you actually gave an example of this. So how employers select the best CVs? Do they have a specific criteria? For example, I know you mentioned about matching to the job spec, for example, that was going to be one criteria. Is there any other criteria also that they actually looking for in order to select the best CV?
Yeah, so it can be quite hard to say there's specific criteria, because each company will have their own variation. But largely they want to know, do you have the skill set to carry out the job role? And do you have the same values that they have as a business, so that together all of those would make you more of a fit for the organization? Because the more that fit is there, the more that actually benefits you, because the more you can be yourself, the more you can be confident in what you're going to say is going to be received the way you mean it, and that you can challenge people's opinions without offending anyone, because you will be basically talking the same language as them. So you want to make sure that fit is there culturally, as well as that you've got the technical skills and the soft skills to do the job. And the soft skills are becoming more and more important. So things like collaboration, adaptability, being able to manage yourself as you go through a change process. All of these are so important to employers. And that's why your own self-awareness piece is so important. So that bit that you just mentioned, Diana, about, it can be hard to know your own personality to put across. So you have to do some kind of soul searching before you even put your CV together to know who you are. What is it that you want from a job? What are your drivers and passions? What are your strengths? Where do you want to develop? And what are you willing to compromise on? If you know all of that and you can build your CV around that, then that will support you so much more when you go into any application or selection process. And the more you target a company, because you connect with it, because it matches all of those things, your passions, your strengths, you've got the capability, you've also got the matching values, then the easier it's going to be to go through one of those selection processes, because it will just be a natural fit as you go through.
Exactly. And how to stand out from the crowd, because I know you mentioned a few things, but if there is anything else that we can add about what you have been said already that, can stand out from the crowd, because as I said, sometimes when we draft a CV, we don't think about how many applications, for example, an employer is going to receive. So how we can make sure that our CV, obviously, when we apply, is standing out from the crowd.
Yeah. And one of them is, although it's to stand out from the crowd, it's to talk the same language as that business is talking. So if they use a particular word to describe one of their values, that should be the word that you use as well. Because then that connects with them subconsciously. That's the language they're used to hearing. So automatically that fits well with them and what they're reading. But apart from that, it is about you. I think I hear a lot from graduates who want to know what is it that the companies want, and how can I try to be more like what they want.
Yeah.
But you have to be yourself. Otherwise, you're never going to get the job. So it's really important, when you're standing out from the crowd, to talk about, as I mentioned earlier, that passion. Talk about what makes you different from the other candidates. So lots of candidates will have studied the same course that you have studied, and so your CV will look very similar to them. But there will be things in your life that you've experienced that no one else has. So it's about how you showcase some of those in your CV and applications. So it's talking more holistically about what you've gone on in your life. So the example I mentioned earlier on about moving from one location to another, many students have done that, so it's about talking about, did you have to learn another language? How did you find accommodation? How did you build up a network of friends? Did you join groups to do that? So it's taking a situation in your life that you're already familiar with, and really analysing it and saying, wow, there's so many skills in there that are transferable to a working environment. So it could be anything, any societies, committees that you've joined, any volunteering work that you do, any actual part-time work that you do while you're studying, as well as what you do at university. Each individual thing that you do in your education, social life, hobbies, and so on, all your extracurricular activities, they all help to build your skill set. You are a combination of all of these things.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid to take some of those things, that show your passion for other areas as well, that help to stand out and show you as an individual. I talk often about a graduate that I recruited for a company in 2019, and he was a standout candidate. And one of the reasons was he told us that he had played the French horn for the Edinburgh proms, and he was 18 when he did that. So for us, we were like, wow, what an amazing talent to have. But also it showed he had dedication, commitment,
determination. Yes,
he had honed his craft, and he had spent time learning, so he'd made mistakes and built on that and improved, but also that he had the confidence, to go and stand up in front of that audience and deliver his piece of music and be part of a team that was doing that. He wasn't just on his own. So there was so many different aspects of just that one story that made us think, wow, he's got a lot to bring to this job. So yeah.
That's wonderful, and thank you so much for sharing. Because sometimes people, for example, they have done a lot of volunteering work, but they don't really know exactly what to put, for example, in their CV, because they might think, okay, I don't know if this is relevant to my job, or I don't have to put. But if you know that volunteering job develops some certain or specific skills that are kind of related to the job, that will going to be really great and wonderful to be included in the CV. Yeah. So let's talk about now about the selection process, because selection process depends on the company, but they're quite heavy and time consuming sometimes, and especially for public organizations where you have to complete like 2-3 pages. Yeah. So if you can tell us what are the steps in the selection process, and if you can give us an example, because especially for graduates, if they apply for McKinsey, or if they apply for Google, or if they apply for Facebook, for these big corporations, always there is a selection process in place. Yeah. Heavy one.
Yeah, and the selection processes, I will tell you, this is the only stage in your career that really you'll go through such a rigorous selection process with any company. Beyond this, you might go like multiple stage interviews, but it will not have the same kind of intensity as this type of process. So I do always feel for graduates, because it's like, you're really going into a process which, if it was at a later stage in your career, you'd probably be more prepared for, because you'd been at different interviews and things throughout your career. But this, as your first entry into recruitment, is very, very intense. So I think, it depends on the size of company that you are going to apply for. So the size and how well known they are, their brand. So the bigger the brand is, the bigger the company is, the more probably stages in the selection process there will be. Now, they do that because, one, they want to have the decision is made by more than one person. They want to make sure that they've got as balanced an opinion of all of their candidates as they can have, and that they have assessed you on different kind of competencies that they would see as being a requirement of the job. And also because the recruitment process is quite costly, especially when you talk about this volume of candidates. So they want to make sure that they're making the right decisions. So you tend to have what we class as early stage selection processes, and then later stage selection processes. And early stage kind of processes are things like psychometric tests. Yeah. So where you carry out a test, and they will have a cut off of, right, is the candidates that score above this amount that will then go into the next stage. That's a very common method of them addressing the volume of candidates and reducing that. And then other things that they might look at are short telephone interviews of, say, kind of 20 minutes, half an hour, or video interviews. And video interviews are generally just on a system or a platform. They tend not to have someone else at the other end. So you're not actually speaking to a person. It's just a system. So don't confuse that with a virtual interview where you've got someone else at the other end of the call. So with those three kind of selection processes, they're cost effective for companies, but they also reduce the volume of candidates for the next stage. And the next stage could be anything from a case study or delivering a presentation to an interview with different panel members, a group exercise, even kind of gamification exercises, which, although have increased in popularity, they're not everywhere gamification. Like a lot of hotels use them and retail use kind of gamification, but they're not in every industry sector. And you don't have to be a gamer to to go through that. But then you get an assessment centre, that is perhaps 3 or 4 of those activities all in the space of half a day or a day, depending on how long they run. So that's kind of selection process overview.
Yeah, so from your experience, Lisa, how graduates finding, for example, the psychometric test? Because when we talk about psychometric, it's verbal reasoning, and sometimes it gives numerical. It depends on the job that you apply, if that actually involves kind of numeracy skills. So how graduates find these psychometric tests?
I think they are very frustrating for graduates, mostly because different companies will have that different level of cut-off for where they are saying this is our candidates will take forward and this is who is not successful. And unsuccessful graduates at that stage won't get any feedback, so you don't actually know where you went wrong with the test. The best thing to do with this is practice, because it's about getting used to the language of the questions that have been asked to you, and also being able to understand where you did go wrong, because the tests that are online, and I will share with Diana some links to tests so that she can share them with you all. So when you go on and look at these tests and go through them, the test will tell you how many you got wrong and which ones you got wrong, so you can go back and look at the language around about that question and think, all right, okay, that's why I selected this answer, but had I read it this way, you would have selected the right answer. So it's just getting used to that language that they're using. So definitely practice. And I would say if you don't pass a psychometric test, try just to move on, because you won't get the feedback. So there's no point in making up in your head, making assumptions about what that is. Another type of test is the situational judgment tests, which sometimes come up quite often, and they are based on logic. So it's very much looking at the information that you have, what are the facts that you have, and only responding to the facts that are there and basing your multiple choice selection on that. Now, it's so easy for us as humans to automatically see a next step, or to make a correlation between one piece of information and think, well, if I've got that, then this must also be true. But actually, if you take those natural assumptions, you will probably answer a lot of the questions wrong. You have to just deal with the facts that are there. This is what they want to know. Factual information. Can you extract the relevant information from it? And can you make a decision based on that information and nothing else? So make sure it's factual. Don't make assumptions, and practice.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, thank you so much for these tips, because I remember a long time ago when I was applying for a job in London. So I had a situational test, and you're right. Sometimes, because you're reading and quickly you make the correlation and assumption, and you most of the time getting the answer wrong. Yeah. So just 5 minutes left, Lisa, but I have another 2 quick questions for you before we'll finish. So we talk quite a lot about CV applications and selection processes, and you mentioned quite a lot of things about this, but what is not so well known about CV application and selection processes from a point of view of people who are applying?
Yeah, so I think there is this misconception you mentioned earlier already about how many other people are going to apply for the job. And again, the better known the brand and the bigger the company, the more applications they tend to get. So if you look at competitors, for example, or other people in that market sector who might not be so well known, then that might give you a better opportunity of getting a graduate role in that same industry sector if you are happy to go with the industry sector rather than a particular brand that you're targeting. I think another misconception is that there's a lot of AI involved in recruitment, and there's a lot of systems sifting out lots of people's CVs. The reality of it is that actually there's still very much a human element to it. Now, companies do use systems, and they can set up these systems to filter out particular words and things like that. But again, they are only really in, I would say, very, very high volume, big brand organizations. Most companies, it's not like that. It is still very much the system comes in, there's CVs on there, and somebody goes in and opens every CV and reviews it and decides whether they're getting seen by someone else in the business, or if no, they don't meet the initial criteria. So you want to make sure you pass the initial criteria. That's what you want to do. So for whoever it is that opens up that CV, they look at your CV and they go, this is the requirements of the job, and actually, yeah, that matches that CV. They've got the same skill set we've asked for, and they are telling us that they've got this experience around about building that skill set up. So that's what you want to do.
Right. And the final question I always ask is actually related to the title, with tips and tricks. I know you share quite a lot about the application and selection processes, but I would like kind of the last question to be like a summary. So to wrap up, obviously, tips and tricks about CV application and selection processes in few words. Thank you.
Definitely. So the first one is to be you. You have to be yourself. Do not try to put across some graduate mold that you think a company's expecting. Be you. That makes it easier for you to put across the information and remember it. Know your why. Know why you're applying for that particular job. Don't just blanket apply for everything. Be targeted. Know your passions, your drivers, your strengths, what it is you want to develop, and know what companies you resonate with and what qualities that you've got to bring to that. And then do your research, do the preparation, do the practice. You have to make sure that you are as prepared and as aware as you can be, so that when you go into the interview or any other selection process, you can be confident because you have done all of that prep. You will know how you connect to the role, to the company, and you can just talk quite naturally about it without putting yourself under any additional pressure. So they're the tips I would give.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Thank you so much to the audience who actually had, the patience to watch us for 30 minutes. And I hope they found the topic quite interesting, and also the tips and tricks that you shared quite useful and beneficial for them. And I will see you next Monday with Victoria McLean, and we'll be talking about CV. So I'll see you on 26th. Okay. And I'm inviting you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Career Backstage. So stay safe, take care, and I will see you next week on Monday. Thank you.